In the beginning, what I will do is today we will discuss about the what is social engineering and social media offense and defense. It is a much debated topic in the recent times because of the widespread use of the mobile phones and the social media, and on top of that, we are having even WhatsApp, and also like communication is not seen to be like the earlier days. Now the communication has become a conversation over the digital media. Like earlier days, when it was just the beginning of the communication scenarios, we were just enough to like it was just enough if you can just communicate or send the information or exchange the information. Now it is no more the same way. It is something like the digital conversation. So in such a scenario, like what are the challenges we feel in the case of the cyber security, and what are the types of attacks we can see, and also based on these social engineering attacks, like some of the features is tech giants like Facebook, WhatsApp, and all, they are continuously changing their features so that it will adapt to the recent happenings or the upgrades in the market. So I hope the screen is visible, right? Just I wanted to make sure. Yeah, okay, thank you. So like we will discuss about this social engineering and media. So why modern architecture requires new protection? One thing is hybrid environment that is beyond the existing premises. Earlier it is what was happening is like phone communication was limited to only the office hours from 9 to say, for example. But now it is not the same. And also still in the COVID times, it has been extended to even work from home, wherein like yeah, our working hours has extended beyond the official timing hours. So it is not a way that like we should justify ourselves saying that okay, we are in safe zone or we are working from home, but at the same time we should also make sure that we are not compromising anywhere in the present scenario, right? Because like and also this internet world access has given a plethora of challenges that has to be addressed. And also, even though it has given many opportunities beyond our expectations, at the same time, it is throwing us many challenges that needs immediate attention. And also, like one more challenge that is requirement of this kind of new thinking is mobile way of doing the things. Mobile way of doing the things in the sense like you can work from home or you can work from your premises or your work from your mobile phones. All these things are adding up to these challenges. So it is not a limited scope. Like there are various challenges. Unless and it is identified, we are not even aware that these kind of things may happen. Because like some of the cases we may be hearing now and then that using WhatsApp, some links were being sent using which everything in the phone was stolen, and all those things will be coming up, right? But these are all some of the challenges which have to be addressed and then like taken care, so that even the people who are having problem with the accessibility, like the aged people and all, they are not cheated in any way by these kind of technology adverts, right? So what are the objectives of social engineering attacks, or whatever the social engineering process is? So US Department of Commerce and Office of Security says that objective is to understand the principles of social engineering and what are the goals of the social engineering, and also recognize the signs which are called as the social engineering. Like how do you say that this is a sign of a social engineering attack, and also identify ways to protect yourself from social engineering. So this social engineering is quietly different from exactly what we have seen till now. Till now, what we have seen is the viruses, trojans, and all kind of those what do you say computer-generated programs which are used to attack against the computers. But in the social engineering, the human beings are itself used for the breaching of the security in one or the other way. So you can think this in the form of a human being with as an hardware with lot of bugs in it, so that can be exploited, so that those are the vulnerabilities can be exploited and the payloads can be implanted so that we can get our job done, right? So to come up with the definition, what exactly is the social engineering? So at its core, it is manipulating a person into knowingly or unknowingly giving up information, essentially hacking into a person to steal valuable information. So in one sense, you can say that it's a psychological manipulation of a person. So some suppose say you can get into talking with a stranger, and also like you will slowly start the conversation, and he will try to get your information. What's your date of birth? What is your place of birth? And what is your what are your hobbies, right? And also what's your parents name? All this will create some sort of an, what to say, vulnerable things we are uh, giving to the attackers. Why? Because like if you create some of the email IDs, right? Like if you create the email IDs, the general question it will ask is, what is your date of birth? What is your first school? What is your mother's maiden name? And all of these are the common questions that will be asked by any of the email providers nowadays. So if someone has that information, even they can get into our email system or to the office email and then hack our system. So what we can understand from this point is like human beings themselves are being used as the vulnerable hardware, so that the information or some more information can be extracted from them and the information can be stealed. That stealed information can be, that stored information can be used for some other purpose. And also the human beings are extensively used for the information gathering. So it has nothing to do with the computer, but to gain access to the computer, we are making use of the human beings. That is the concept over here in the social engineering. Now we can imagine what way the persons or the people around us, like who may be not familiar to us, may generate a social attack, like how we can understand those kind of attacks and try to be aware of such attacks and get rid of that. So another definition what we give for social engineering is, it is a way for criminals to gain access to information systems. The purpose of social engineering is usually secretly install spyware, other malicious software, or to trick persons into handing over the passwords or other sensitive financial or personal information. The ultimate goal here is to again get the access to the computers. But here we are not making use of the help of the computer, but we are making use of the help of the persons involved in this. Suppose say you are an employee of some company, you know that like what kind of information is been provided over the phone. Now you call an information desk and you will pretend to say you are someone else and you are not able to log into your computer. Kindly provide me the what is it, credentials. The person who is there on the desk may think that okay, date of birth. He may ask for one or two simple questions. What's your date of birth or date of joining or something? If someone provides those correct details, then your credentials will be at risk. So that attacker will get to know the information about those, and then he can try to launch an attack against you. This is one of the common ways. Like sometimes you will call to your credit card customer care or to the bank customer care. Then if you know someone's date of birth and then the account number and one or two the common questions about the place of birth or even the like what is the father's name or mother's name, then your information will be provided to someone who is not at all who is even not at all related to you. So we should be we should make sure that such kind of attacks will not happen, and what kind of information we will reveal to the people around us, so that we are leaving some traces for them to take the bytes and pieces and create an social engineering attack as about us, right? So attackers, what they will look for. So it is obtaining simple information such as your pet's name, where you are from, the places you have visited, and information that you have give out freely to your friends. Sometimes like even we will write on our Facebook pages saying that like, okay, I have visited this place from so and so time. So the people will get to know, the attackers will get to know that okay, this system may be vulnerable at during this period. I should make my maximum effort to get into the system or the like credentials of this person, right? So this social engineering attack is not done at a single day. It has to be done over a period of time. So observing your hobbies, what is your pet's name, where you are from, the places you have visited. Because like if you assume you are a computer, like what are the vulnerable spots you may be having? When you are selecting a password, you might have selected your father's name or pet's name or the place you are born at, right? And also very simple is like instead of guessing the passwords over here, if you can recover the password by using collecting some of this information, because all the email IDs only collect this information only, right? What's your name? What's your name of the first school you have attended? All those and date of birth and place of birth. Like if you know this information, like partial of these information can be available from your social media profiles itself. So using that, if anyone can gain access, right, they can go to the recover passwords option, and he can launch this kind of attacks and gain the access. So if you're away for a certain period of time, he can make use of that period of time, and so thinking that you are not available at the moment to the phone, he can launch some of these attacks, right? Like even you can try with some of the customer case, like they will be providing you all this information at ease if you provide one or two valid identity revealing information. That is one of the dangerous things. We should make sure that our details are not publicly available anywhere. For example, like we can provide, if we provide nowadays our mobile phone numbers, it is a biggest challenge that if you add your mobile number with an address like at the rate UPI or at the rate YBL, that will give the gateway for the people to understand our payment links. So, like what is, I'll give you an example. Recently, I have come across what has happened is one of the person had given advertisement in OLX for selling one of these product which he was having. What happened was one of the customer, like, or he was an attacker. He called and he negotiated. He said, "Okay, this is the price. We will agree," and all that. So instead of sending the money over the UPI platform, what he did is the customer who was playing the game, he requested for the money. And this guy who was selling the product, in urgency, he didn't notice or he didn't think much, like why I should give a password to make the payment. So in confusion, he made the payment, and instead of taking the money from the buyer. So these kind of things will happen when we are like using this technology in a slightly negligent manner. So we should make sure that such kind of things we are not vulnerable. We should make sure that we are not vulnerable to these kind of attacks and these kind of people. So it is always better to avoid such kind of things, right? And if you take a close look at some of the secure sites we log into, let it be this Azure cloud services or Amazon cloud services or whatever, they will have a secret question we need to answer. Like if we cannot remember the username and password, right? So like it is a pretty tough question for the people who are outsider are looking to try to attack your account. But imagine a person who is having slight access to your information, that is your date of birth or the school you might have studied or your mobile number or something like that, right? In such case, it will be easy for him to get your username and password. Instead of guessing it, he can directly go to forget your username and password, and he can try to get that information. So it is always advisable to use different set of usernames for different websites. So if you use the same username, then you may be targeted at many places. So just try to understand this point. So it is always advisable to use different passwords and different username. Try to select something different secret question which you can just remember for yourself, because all these websites, if you observe, like around the globe, like almost 99% of the website takes the same information from you. What's your pet name, your first school name, what's your mother's maiden name, and date of birth. So if anyone knows all these things, then you will be always at the risk. So please take care of this aspect, and also try to implement wherever possible two-level authentication schemes or multi-factor authentication schemes. And also like try to lock the usernames of your internet banking yourselves, so that you're not being targeted by any of these attacks, right? So like what are the scenarios like you can come up with in this cases about the social engineering attacks? What are the possibilities? One is free texting, in the sense like creating a fake scenario and try to get the information. Suppose say you are an IT manager in one of the companies, and like certain companies that you are working over there. Now anyone wants to gain access to what you are doing. What he will do on a very good day, that he will call to your company information desk and say that you are so and so. He will impersonate you and he will say, I am so and so, and I am not able to access my machine. Can you give me the credentials? Then the person who is at the desk, he may ask you one or two questions like, what's your out the information, like this is what the things are required. Always risk that your identity has been like taken away, and then some fake person is operating on your be off. That's also one of the reasons many of these IT companies try to have the hardware of their own to give the access to the employees, even though through a VPN. Like you can ask them to work from anywhere, but like what is the how to trust the hardware place? So that's why they will not allow you to log into their systems apart from the any machines from the company provided thing. This is the main reason. And also one of the early social engineering attacks was about this only. Some of the people were gained access into company. One more example I will give you. Suppose say when you're going to the company, right? People, what they will do is sometimes they say that I forgot the ID card. Can you please let me in along with you? It is called a style gating, right? So that has to be avoided so that the intruder whom you don't know will get the access into the company. So these things we should make sure that it will not happen. And the phishing, like we know much about it. Phishing is a well-designed attack one can fall prey for. Like what exactly they will do is you have like earlier it was only sent through email. Nowadays on WhatsApp or even on SMS, you will get that you have a message that your number has won $1 million. Try to contact us on this number, or they will provide you some details like which can lure you, right, in some way. And also they will keep some attractive title for the email ID so that you will tend to click on those, and then you may end up giving certain information from your side itself, from your machine, so that they can activate or generate some sort of an virus programs, or some sort of an listener programs you may activate, so that will give them information to interact with your machine. So you can use some of the techniques which we discussed yesterday afternoon, and then try to see if any unwanted processes are running in your system, and you can terminate them so that you will not be the victim of this phishing attack. And also this phishing attack was also a previous thing. Now there is something called as spear phishing, so that they will target only a particular set of people or the particular way of doing it, so that they will do it target. Like if you are searching information from particular place, right? Like if you want to go to an holiday for to Indonesia for some time, and like after some time you will get a mail saying that okay, Indonesian flight rates, right? Then you may be a victim of such kind of. So be careful. Like don't take it everything for granted. Don't think the internet is only there for the good of humanity and all other things. So try to make sure that you will make the proper use of that. And the similar thing, the fake websites, right? Like they are created in a way such that they look like the real thing. Nowadays, if you even search for some of the very big industries, you will get very like just the one character or two character will be different in the name of the product. So such kind of things are there. I will give you one some simple example, like the Dairy Milk chocolates, which are sold by the Cadbury's, right? So there are many such things in market which are not from the actual Cadbury's Dairy Milk, but they're from the different companies that have the similar label or a look. Similar thing will happen to the websites also. So always make sure that you will log in to some websites that are having a connection with HTTPS. Like almost all the websites are nowadays are into an encrypted format, so they will be using a secure hypertext protocol. So try to make sure that you are having you are connected to the websites using an HTTPS connection, but still make sure that it is the official website. So don't try to search in the Google or any other search engine and try to get a website and log in. First see which is the official website, and from there you try to log into that, providing the real credentials. So even if you get a slightest doubt on any of the websites, don't give your login credentials, because always prevention is better than cure. So once the information is stolen, or some money or the financial transactions have happened, it will be really difficult to get back that portion of money which you have lost. Because like one or the other way, like when we give the username and password to these websites and the transactions occurs, that knowingly or unknowingly we have provided the consent for doing that operation. So that's the reason many of these credit card frauds will never be settled on the side of the users. Why? Because you have given the consent. Like suppose if, for example, OTPs, right? Like now if you have given OTPs fraudulently over your phone to some people, then like we are at risk, because we are not supposed to share such information to with anyone, but we have done that. So those kind of things we should always make sure, and then we are not the victims of this social engineering attacks. Then comes the case of the fake pop-ups. So it will what will happen is, like when we are browsing some websites, some pop-up will try to come out giving the information. Like anyways, nowadays the chat box is coming up as an way to interact, and it is a way to reduce the burden on their information desk to give the redundant information every time. It is a way to help the customer. That is a different story. But the fake pop-ups, like, but how do we identify that? So for that reason, we should make sure that no Trojan is running in our system or any other processes that is falsely popping up some of the information to get away the credentials. Like now, if you say, like, there will be some pop-up saying that, like, I'm visiting some of the website, it will give a pop-up that get this ticket for a cheaper price or like half of this. So don't get lured away by all those pop-ups. So these are all just a way to make us as the vulnerabilities which are present, and those will be exploited, right? So one of this thing from I took from social engineering networks, right, Chapman and Kiran, is hackers' polite approach works like a charm. So if someone politely calls you and asks you for some information, saying that I'm calling from so and so bank, we need to replace your card or something, or any information, if anyone tries to get on your phone, just deny giving such information, even though how genuinely they appear to be. Okay, so unless and until if you require something urgently, unless and until, don't give away anything over the phone. So that is also called as phishing. It's not called as phishing, it's called as phishing, voice phishing. That is called as phishing. It means voice, over the voice you will be fished to do something what the hacker wants to retrieve, like take your date of birth or some information and use it against uh, you, right? So like hackers use the social engineering attacks to obtain information that will allow him or her to gain the unauthorized access to a valued system and the information that resides on the system. So if someone comes to you with an polite approach asking for your date of birth, like how much ever they may be like associated with you, don't try to give away these details. Like one or the other point, it may lead to the problems which we cannot uh, correct it, right? So what are the ways or what can be done to make, so that what we can do so that this kind of social engineering attacks can be what to say identified, and then they can be mitigated. So one thing is recognize the inappropriate requests for the information. Inappropriate request in the sense, like if someone is interested suddenly in your date of birth, some of the companies may also call you and say that, okay, we have a special offer. Like, can you provide us with your date of birth and the present CTC, how much you are getting? So don't get victim of all those things. And also make sure that, like, if any inappropriate request is coming on WhatsApp or any other thing, don't try to communicate with them. It is always better to inform or report about such cases about the legal authorities. And also, like the telephone calls, if you are getting from some international numbers, then also be careful and don't try to give away any information related to this. Like they will also have some targeted information about you. If someone is there in the age group of 22 to 25, and if they get to know that you are a student of some engineering colleges or something, or they may lure you with a job offer, and then they say that, okay, to give the job offer, pay this much, we will release you, right? And also if you are in a age group from 25 to 30, then they may assume that you are looking for earning money, so that they will lure you in other way, saying that, okay, do this business, this is having this much profit, then invest in these things. So if we are in the age group of 30 to 35, then they may come up with new things like real estates or something. Like all those things can be like a targeted attack, because they think that human beings are the hardware that are vulnerable to certain set of attacks. So always we should be taking care of this, and also take the ownerships for the any information about your organization to the others or within the other groups. What happens is, like one person who is in your team, like may not be like he may not be entitled to get some certain sensitive information which is there in the other team. Similar thing applies to their team as well. Don't share such kind of things. Take the ownership of the corporate security. Make like or take the ownership, so that we can make sure that we are not the victim. Taking the ownership in the sense, we should think that we are the owners, and then we should make sure that how we can protect our assets, right? And also we should understand what are the risk and the impact of the security breaches, right? Like if someone gets an access to one of the machines or one of the system machines, then they can launch any kind of attacks like a worm or a ring, like which we were discussing yesterday, so that they can infect all the computers in the network. They can sniff all the other things which are going on presently in those systems, and then they can breach the entire network or get the entire network down by one or the other way. For all these things, we should have like clear access control models, so that we are not getting caught in any of these things. Security breaches are like very what do you say? We can say like this risk and impact of the security breaches are very huge impact. Like we don't know what exactly will happen once something has been breached. They can get the entire system down, or they can delete whatever the databases are there. All those things we need to understand. Because like some of the popular websites which are launched in India and you have huge traffic were like hacked over a few years back, and then all the databases which are there in those websites were deleted. Then if you don't have a backup of that, then you can imagine what kind of things can happen. And also the social engineering attacks are always personal, and they will be targeted. So if someone observes you closely, or if someone, even though it is a cyber stacking, that is another issue. But social engineering attacks, like which happens like generally by taking away information from you in a manner such that you won't notice it, right? It will be like an information retrieval from you without your knowledge. So that's why we should always make sure that we are not victims of such cases. Uh, like, am I not audible? Am I audible or not? Just I wanted to make sure. Okay. Oh, okay. Right. Okay, fine. So now next is like the password management. See, this password management is always a very big challenge. How do we manage this password, right? So always make sure that these passwords are you remember it and don't write it away anywhere. Or at least if you write away, make sure that it is at a proper place which is not accessible to anyone outside your uh, limitation or your vicinity. So this password manager is the biggest challenge. And also don't trust any of the password management softwares, because this password management softwares, if they are by mistake, if they are hacked, then we are into huge trouble, because we have all the information, because we don't only save the passwords, along with that we will even save our usernames. So it will give an always an place like wherein our passwords are vulnerable. So don't get into all those things. To the extent possible, try to remember the passwords, or try to limit the interactions with the outer world, so that we will not be any victim of anything. So even some people say that like saving passwords in emails and other things. Imagine a situation if suppose for some reason if your email is hacked, or if your phone is hacked, right? Because some of the apps nowadays which we are installing in our Android phones, they have access to our contacts. And some people have the habit of storing these account numbers, credit card numbers, along with their CVV, expiry date, every details into the phone contacts. Imagine like if the apps which are having access to your contacts, if they are stolen or if they are hacked for some reason, then the attackers can easily get this information about your cards. See, the guessing from the card is very easy. Why? Because any card, if we take any credit or debit card, it will be 16-digit card number, right? So apart from that, another 3 digit will be CVV, and another 4 digits or whatever, it can be the 6 digits can be the expiry date. So just always make sure that we will not make that mistake. That is the simplest mistake the people are doing in the nowadays. That is store everything in the phone. That is not a good practice. And also like installing all the apps which have access to the contacts or the gallery, that is also not required. Why an app which is providing some sort of information or some sort of service to us, why it requires access to all the things in our phone, right? So if you are using some of the mobile connections nowadays, even we are getting the pop-ups without our consent, right? So that means that someone can even control our phones. For example, if you take SMS nowadays, SMS is also like the other application now. It's not like the previous days SMS. It's like a totally different thing. So we should always make sure that we are not getting into all those things. So better way to do that is to. Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. Like there was a, I could notice it on time. So at what point I was stopped? Can anyone let me know? Yeah, right. Like we are thinking about this. We are just discussing about this password management and then like two-factor authentication. So the way to do this, one second, not audible in between. Right. Okay. So fine. I will take up the questions in a while. Just let me finish up with the presentation. Recognize these are the things we have discussed, and then like the password management, we should make sure not keep our password somewhere which is easily available to everyone. Next comes the question of the two-factor authentication. It's like two-factor authentication is a older word. To the extent possible, have like many-factor authentication, so that like if one or the other ways you be reached to get access to your accounts. Like for example, nowadays Gmail has come up with the two-factor authentication. Like they require at least your phone number or the app access or something to get the access to your phone. Like anyway, that's a the other question, that whether Google has our all information. That's another bigger question to answer. That's a different story. But at least make sure that we will implement two-factor authentication or three-factor, like, or to the extent possible, try to authenticate yourself to the extent possible, so that you are not vulnerable for many things. For especially for the financial transactions, because all these are revolving around the financial transactions or our accounts. See, even if they make like a small amount from us, like globally, how much they can earn for the hackers. So always make sure that to at least to the extent possible have two-factor, or any financial transaction now requires two-factor authentication, at least in India. But if you can get a chance, try to do, like if you're logging in from a new location, internet banking and all those things, just make sure that you will be asked for the authentication. Don't deny it. It is for our safety. And also the physical security is always an important aspect. Like if you deploy some hardware, like it is also important on us to make sure that those kind of devices are like not vulnerable or easily accessible to the people. For example, servers, right? The server room should be always maintained in such a way that they're not easily accessible. That is the first thing. And the second thing is like our physical cards, like the debit cards or the credit cards or whatever information we do have, we should make sure that such kind of cards are not easily available for anyone outside you. And also make sure that when you're using the ATM centers or like any transactions, if you are making below the CCTV cameras, just make sure that you will hide at least few digits of your debit card, so that you will be not under any sort of the attack, right? Because like some of the cards which will be used in the international domain doesn't require a two-factor authentication. They can directly use it for booking the like tickets or for the hotels or restaurants. Like if you analyze the trend of this cyber attacks done on the financial transactions in the last couple of years, what they show is the hackers have used these websites to book a movie or use it in a restaurant for giving some orders or like booking the travel tickets. So always these kind of things will roll around or revolve around the financial transaction. So we should be always careful about this aspect. And also we should be very careful what kind of information we are putting on the web, right? For example, like Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, right? And also on the personal blogs, MySpace. So now imagine, like, if someone has access to all these six accounts, or if he is keep watching on all these six accounts, then they can make a profile of yours better than us, right? Better, like they can do better profile of us than us, because we in LinkedIn we will post where we have studied, what we have done, and all our accomplishments we will have it on the link, and all our personal related things will be there on the Facebook, and what kind of things we like will be there on Twitter. And then, like in the personal blogs, if we have the habit, then we will write everything that is related. So these kind of information will always create an issue and lead to the hacking, right? So is my voice is not clear? Yeah, right. Okay, this is the what the challenges are. Now the thing is, like in like these are the things we need to take care. So network defenses, they will repel the viruses. So there are virus protection is always we know that it is there from the years now, and anyone who is using the internet in last few years know that to have some sort of a security. And also recently these operating systems have also come up with their own antiviruses, making sure that, yeah, many of these companies have come up with their own antiviruses for their operating system, so that they will not be under the attack. So, yeah, can you please mute yourself? Uh, I think so. I can hear some background voice. Can you just? Okay. So, like, these are all the things like about the virus we know. But at least we are taking some antivirus softwares like McAfee, Norton, Symantec, or Kaspersky, right? All those are there into picture. And also these operating systems have started, like Windows, which is a largest, having a largest user base, is having their own uh, antivirus like Microsoft Security Defender, and all those things are anyways there for saving us from these viruses or Trojan, but still don't take it for granted that they are there to protect us. There are always a chance that, like, we may be in some attack. So another thing we need to do is the email attachment scanning. If you think that there is some attachment to a mail from an unknown source, even though it looks appear or genuine, don't try to use it. And also, like, don't try to use this emails attachment, or don't try to open them in our phones, because there are at larger risk, because we have all kind of information in our phones nowadays. They are no more a phone, like they are like a digital device which is used for taking photographs and all other purposes, and in addition it will do the job of attending, like sending the SMS and receiving the, or making the phone calls, right? And also, like, firewalls we should and make sure that, and also we should also decide at the organization level and also at the personal level what information is sensitive and what information is non-sensitive. So what how do we know about this, like organization, how do they decide what information is sensitive and what information is not sensitive? So this is again a challenging question. The first thing what the organization should do in such cases, they should educate all the employees or the involved in this option, right? And why? Because I'm saying is, like, now if you're able to access an information desk at an office, and if you give away certain credentials, the people who are at the desk may give you the information which you are seeking for, but that should not happen. So how we can make sure about this? So we should educate the people who are involved in it and tell them, okay, these kind of attacks do exist, so make sure that you are not the victim, or you are not the place for which you are providing a platform for the people to access. So all these things we should educate them. That is the only way we can do it, starting from the lowest possible employee in an organization to at the higher level or the mid level, whoever the employees are there, we should periodically inform them or educate them about what are the information is sensitive, what kind of things we should reveal and we should not reveal, and how we should have the information about the clients and what kind of information we can share with the clients, right? All those things we can be only possible by properly educating everyone. Otherwise, it is always a challenge to have a threat. For example, I was giving an example of tailgating, right? Like in the case of the organization, IT companies, what happens is like if someone forgets a card or something, like they will ask their other friends or someone to let them in along with their card. Like if the security personnel is there at the gates, they will avoid doing such things. But if the unmanned gates, right? So at that places, it will likely to happen. It is likely to happen, but we should make sure not give a scope for that, because we may be letting in a person or an intruder to our organization just in the way we are helping them. Like we may think that we are helping an employee who has come without his ID card, but that can be a point wherein we will be missing ourselves and giving a way for the potential attacker. So we should make sure that we will not get into all those things. So only thing is we can be educated the employee. So if any employee leaves a card or something, he can like report to the security office and then he can get it done. But other employees should not be involved in this, so that we can avoid this kind of risk. There is a major risk which was like reported over last 5 years back, that people using that. So but nowadays it has been also reduced, and then so that if they gain once into the physical premises of the office, they can try to do something or try to hack the Wi-Fi password and then get access to the information, and from there they can launch any kind of attack. So those things we should make sure that that will not happen. And next is the security must be periodically tested. So whatever the hardware, whatever the software or the apps or the whatever the versions we are using, we should regularly check for the patches, right? Because like what happens is like every time it is very difficult to upgrade to a new version of the software, right? In that cases, what these companies will do is periodically they will release the patch as an update to the previously existing software, right? So those patches should be installed on our machines so that we are up to date with the security, right? So that is the one way we can keep ourselves at the not at the risk. So if any apps are asking for the update, make sure that we are on the updated version. That is the patches we call security patches, or the just patches for the OS or to the software which we are using. So that should be regularly, periodically tested, and then it should be upgraded. And also, like if you are having any concerns at the work about the security issue about this physical security of the assets or the digital assets of the company, we should inform about this to the IT desk immediately, so that this risks can be mitigated, and then if any actions can be taken proactively, so that it will save us from the further damage. So these are the certain things we need to take care when we are thinking of all this social engineering attacks, right? So these are all the major things. Cyber threat landscape to give an overview, right? Who are the threat actors and what are the targeted systems, what are threat vectors, and all the recent trends. Right? The threat actors are like organized crimes and the national wise or the state. These are all the traditional hackers. What why they are doing is they are doing it for gaining the for the monetary gains by gaining the personal information or stealing the personal information, right? And which are the targeted systems? Okay, when leaving the financial transactions, like okay, like if a person is been identified and socially attacked, it is only for gaining the information he possesses, why they have done it. For that is like for the financial gain of that particular person's transaction. So the financial benefit from that person who has been targeted. That is the first thing. And the second is like manufacturing and the system sector. And then to attack the critical infrastructures of a company, like we know that like which are the critical servers that has to be up all the time and which is not a critical infrastructure. All those things they can target and then get it down. So imagine a situation like if you make one of the critical infrastructure down for 24 hours, what kind of loss you can expect from that kind of a downtime, right? Then the even the client can make the move to go to the other companies or the service providers. So like having the critical infrastructure, manufacturing and also source code repositories and cloud-based systems are the main targets what are like visible from the recent trends. So it is always better to make sure that these kind of targeted systems are being identified at the initial stages and proactively we have taken the measures to safeguard them. And coming to the threat or the vectors in this case of these social engineering attacks, they may be insiders itself, that they may be posing your colleagues or the friends or someone and gain access to your personal information, so that if they get the personal information they can get the access to your industrial systems also, and they can be vendors or the suppliers. So if you are in the manufacturing or the manufacturing or any other supply chain management or so, what will happen is it will have the list of vendors and suppliers who will be frequenting to your organization to provide something. So in conversation or getting you in conversation, they can get periodically data about you, but you may forget that you have provided the data periodically. Then that can lead to a social engineering attack over a period of time. So at this point of time, if someone gets my date of birth, and after 15 days, if he gets my birthplace, after some days, he will get my pet's name, and some days, my mother's name, or my parent's name, or the school I studied, then you can imagine if a person is planning to launch an attack, how much information he has gathered about me, right? So we should always make sure about all this things, right? And also social engineering, like if you're a scientist or something, like if someone has gained access to our information system, then they may steal even those intellectual properties or anything that values. So the recent trends in this is the extortion or the ransomware. So extortion is like just get some details about you and then try to extort you by hacking some of your resources. And also, like we as we are aware, ransomware is like encrypting all our information on our device by gaining access to our device and then demanding a huge money for that information what he is having. And also, like this we need to make sure that we always have the multiple copies of the information and we don't have very sensitive information at our devices. Why? Because like if something is locked and if someone is like he may demanding some dollars, right? Now, like even if you pay $500, there is no guarantee that he will give our information. Even he can start demanding more. And also, doxing is a way in which like there is some sensitive information or something has been posted on this internet. Like, see, like now I know I have gathered some information from some people. Now I will post it on the internet so that the others can make use of it. My intention is that I'm like giving a way for the people to tag the others. Right? Doxing in the sense what you can think is like I know a person A, I'm person B. Okay, I know person A, I'm person B. Now I know the information about. Uh, now I know all the information about this person A. What I will do is I will just about this person A on the internet with the intent that all the attackers or whoever interested in attack the information, they can do it. So the person B providing the platform for doing all this. So we need to make sure of these things we are not so malware attack and all these are quite familiar with. So the malicious software, the viruses, right, and also the uh, Trojan. Trojans are, as we discussed, they are like very dangerous things. It itself as a legitimate software pieces, and if we give an access, then it can have the property to bring down the entire system, like by attacking, by launching the targeted attack. So we should make sure of anyhow. We have discussed about the virus and Trojan and what kind of things they can do it. So I won't go in detail to it, but adwares we should always make sure of. It's like about this display banners or the pop-ups that are seen. Like if you want to say, like there are some legitimate advertisers also for this display banners and all, like Google AdSense and Google AdWords and Facebook advertising. But you can make sure that they will have some sort of a watermark towards the end of their image, so that we can make sure that those display banners or pop-ups which you are seeing are not from any intruders, they are from the legitimate sources. The challenge here is always that how do we classify between this legitimate users, legitimate advertisers, and then the non-legitimate thing. So we should always use intelligently whether we are really or genuinely interested in that, then we should go for it. Otherwise, we should not go for it. And then the other thing is like we should always block access to the key components of the network, right? Like we should not, even if we are interested, like if you keep some password and some email IDs or whatever, we should always make sure that we will not use it frequently, or like we will try to remember them. So those kind of things we should practice in our day-to-day life, so that we will not be any, we will be not be victim of any kind of the attack. So, like when we are attacked, we won't be understanding that we are the part of the attack. But at the later stage, we will understand that we were the victims of it. So always have this attitude that, like having a zero tolerance policy or a zero design principle, wherein if something comes near to our personal, have a clear cut balance that no, this information I should not share, this information I should share. All kind of clear, what to say, line or the border we should have, then only we can avoid all kind of these attacks. Without our personal what do you say, what without our personal knowledge or the personal insight to it, we cannot stop any of the intruders from the attacks, because like anywhere the human intervention is required, right? Coming to the malware attack prevention, what we can do for the malware attack prevention is, one thing is use antivirus softwares. Like for example, McAfee trial version, or some of the trial versions are also there. But if you are using a genuine Windows version, like nowadays it comes with an Windows Defender that is for better than many of these commercially available antiviruses to the extent possible to avoid any viruses or the malwares. Then the next thing is have better firewalls. Maybe for home systems may not be required, but if you are having an industrial perspective or some sensitive information you are collecting from the users over a period of time, then it is better to always have a good, better firewalls, and also avoid using any of the links. Biting the link bytes or link byte, what we call is information which looks genuine, but if you click on it, it will redirect to something else. So we should not be always lured by all these things, and regularly update the security patches, update the OS or whatever the program we are running on our machines, so that we will be always updated against all this. Because like every day, some or the other viruses will be generated. As an survey, like per day, I read some years back that daily around 82,000 viruses, different kind of viruses, are being created in and injected into the computer network. So now we can imagine what kind of antivirus or what kind of antivirus protection software these people have to update regularly, so that they can provide guard against all this kind of this attack. Right? We know that the phishing attack is the biggest and the widespread attacks. What it do is it will use the fake mails and attacks the system. Like if you see the script of the email, it looks so genuine that you will think that it is from the legitimate source. But when you are having that doubt, just try to see who is the sender. Just try to see the email without linking any links inside the email content. Then you can understand it will be from some Gmail ID or something. If someone is genuinely sending you the information, make sure that that information is from the specific domain. Like for example, if someone is sending you a mail from an sbi.o.in, then there are chances that they may be legitimate. Anyways, forget about the insider attack, but to the extent possible, don't try to give any information over the email or the phone. If you want, you can directly go to the bank or any other things, and then you can update your information. So biggest thing is like don't try to communicate anything over the email which you feel that is personal and not to be shared over the internet, right? That is one of the biggest things that will happen in the phishing attack. So, and also try to see the sender who has sent it. If they are genuinely sent something, right, they will be sending it from their custom domains. Like for example, if you get a mail from IIIT Harvard, then it will have a domain name at IIITDWD.ac.in. So it can identify that okay, it has come from a legitimate source. Then I can trust it. So all these things we should make as a practice, right? And also don't try to download some softwares or the cracked version from a third-party software and then try to install it. To the extent possible, if you are not able to pay and get the software, then it is always better to use the free versions or the trial versions, or use the open source software from the legitimate sources, so that we won't be under the any kind of the attack. That is the another personal security goals we can have it. And also, like, don't type of the shares personal information. To the extent possible, don't share any personal information to wherever it is. So that is the another thing we should always make sure, right? And coming to the how do we can prevent this phishing, right? This is the another information we should always think of. Like, look for the suspicious messages or the links, as I told you before. And then, like, we should use anti-phishing toolbars and regularly update the passwords. So if you get an information that whenever we enter some password, right? And also, like, whenever we enter 1 second, yeah, whenever we enter some password to some website, that will ask us to there. So don't try to do any such mistakes, and don't try to save any passwords in any browsers, because what happens is, like, if anyone uses the same system after some time, or like if they get chance to access this, then our passwords will be revealed to them. Or even if our system is crashed, sorry, if our system is hacked, then everyone will get the information on that. So this is the first thing we should make as a personal thing, right? And also, like, how the people will use this password attacks, right? So one is the keylogger attack, wherein a listener function will be stored in our system that will continuously monitor which of the keystrokes I have made, and then observe a pattern, and then use it at a later stage on the same website and gain the access. So one of the best examples I can give you is, like, you have entered your internet banking, but you are not knowing that any keylogger is running in that, and then you have given your username and password, and you have checked some of the, or you have made some transactions. So all those, the keys which you have the keystrokes which you have made will be stored. That can be later analyzed and see what is your username and password. So make sure that such keylogger functions are not running in our computer. And also, dictionary attack is like attacking our username and password by keeping a list of the guessed guessed password. So I can understand that, okay, person X has kept these many password at the, so I need to check, okay, these are the possibilities. So I will go on checking one by one and find out that this is the password. So that kind of a thing may be launched. So we should be careful. So brute force attack is the recent ones which will be done, wherein, like, parts and pieces will be taken, and then they will be used against us to get the information in gaining any of the machines. So, but how do we, like, what to say, have an uh, how do we make sure that we are not a victim of all these things, right? So we should not look anyone to use our system. That is the first thing. And also, like, we will not leave out any of our personal information so that anyone can use it. So only these are the ways, by using the personal finances, we can make sure that we are not attack. How we can prevent it? Change the password regularly, use the alphanumeric along with this. So the alphanumeric was a standard few years back, but now, like, people are use the special characters as well, and also the of the small caps and also big caps words, so that you will guessing is very. And also keep it confidential to the extent possible. Don't share it with anyone at any cost, right? Also, like, man in the middle attack, it is quite difficult to understand it, because it is done inside our system in the middle over the communication channel, but server. But we should make sure that if there is any eavesdropping, that is like silently someone is listening to our connection or something, should make sure we're not communicating over such network. That is the first thing. Because the man in the middle attack, the main thing is it will filter and the steals information. So one of the possible solutions for this was the end-to-end communication, where the packets are been encrypted over the net and transmitted over the network, so that the attackers will not get an idea what was. Nowadays some research is going on. backend. So that is the challenge in going on, right? How do we like avoid this man in the middle attack? Make sure that public unsecure Wi-Fi. So if you get it Wi-Fi at free for some place, don't try to always connect it and use it. Be responsible and then think of the afterwards effects, what it can create. So all those things we should make sure that aware of the website we are accessing it. So we should always make sure that we are legitimate web. Yeah, any problem? The net. 1 second. Any problem with this?
Professor Pawan, there is a video problem. Audio.
Okay, to see the screen. Okay. I'm on a good connection, but now, like, okay, maybe in between intermittently it is going, I guess. Probably. 1 minute, just.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So one thing is like avoiding the public unsecure Wi-Fi's, and also like we should be aware of the website which we are using. So these are the things we should make sure of. And then like SQL injection attacks. As I told you before, the SQL injection attack is the another attack wherein the malicious code has been inserted into the DBMS software. In this case, like I was talking about, attacker not only views and modifies, and they will edit the software code also. So that like this injection attack is mainly to done what kind of information, mainly to know what kind of information is been stored in the server. So if information stored in the server is like very valuable, then the DBMS software can be injected by like injecting some piece of the code, and we can try to access that and then modify the information which is there in the database, or we can gain it. So there are many attacks on SQL injection attacks. How it has been done, you can check. So if you have an SQL database, then you can just log into that, and you can use some of the logical queries, because all these logical databases works with some query like star select star from so and so. So if you can just play with that, how we can get more information from these databases, you can just check in Google, just give an example of SQL injection attack, you can identify that. So repeatedly we should check whether the new entries or any access permissions are given to someone who is not a legitimate user, what they're doing in it, that also we should always take care of. So how we can prevent those SQL injection attacks? So validate the user supplied data, always validate it, and also use the intrusion detection system which can detect who are intruding our software. We should have a record, so that at least at a later stage we can identify who is who is an intruder to our network, and then act against them. But make sure that always this SQL injection attacks, make sure that when someone is entering into your system, they don't have the privileges to drop the tables, because like if they can delete some of these tables, then the organization will be at the huge loss. So always make sure that certain keywords are been like what you say, they're not been allowed for them to execute. So you can you can exempt them from using such keywords like drop tables or modify tables. Those things should not be given permission. Like if they want, they can view it, but up to a certain extent, they should not be able to modify machine. Then the entire database will be down, and it can create to larger problems. So have a better intrusion detection software, and also have the better access control policies for preventing the SQL injection attack. Why? Because this access control policies, the first one we are giving the access to them, but access they are misusing it. So we should make sure that these things will not happen, right? And also this denial of service attacks, it is also one of the attacks which has to be taken care of, wherein like to the existing resources, fake traffic has been sent, so that the legitimate, so that the service provider thinks that okay, good number of traffic is coming to me, but at the same time, it is making the legitimate users legitimate users not to access the resources. So it is only to make sure that the service provider is having the fake traffic, and then he is thinking that okay, traffic is coming to my site, but actually that is not the traffic. The man in the middle is doing or launching some of the attacks so that the actual person who wants the service is not getting it, but the service provider is giving it, right? So the man in the middle is trying to play a game so that he is denying some of the services to the end user. So if you observe this attack, denial of service attack, there is no mistake from the customer as well as from the service providers. But the man in the middle is trying to do, or what to say, trying to play with both the customer and then the service provider. So we should make sure to identify any such denial of service attacks are there, and what is the place or the origin of those denial of service, and we need to overcome them, right? And also this DOS attacks, they are also like in the case of the run the traffic, like that is the traffic analysis, doing the traffic analysis, what is the inbound traffic and what is the outbound traffic. We need to make sure, and who are the requests, from which IDs the or the IPs the request is coming for. So one of the device example what I can give you is, suppose you are having a service running exclusively for the Indian customers, and if you are getting a lot of traffic from the other continents or the other places, then you should make sure that okay, like your uh, service is not been under a DOS attack, because like you have kept only a service for a Indian users, but why the other peoples are interested in that? Hardly you may get 1% just to identify or just to explore, but 99% might be from the other places, right? So in that cases, we should make sure that denial of service attack is not been. And also like one of the ways you can do is in the organizations we can use a cloud computing, so that at a larger scale this DOS can be prevented. And the next is the insider threat, that we need to make sure that the insider threat has been very well addressed by using strong access control policies. Access control policies, if they are weak at certain extent, then the chances of insider threat is very high. Okay, because like no one wants to reveal their identity and create a threat. They will try to do it without giving out their information. Always should make sure that this insider threat has been properly addressed by having the strong access control policies. Or access control policies is the first thing any organization to have it to the minute level. Minute level in the sense, okay, if he is a service provider or if he is a supplier, what kind of information he has to access. And also we should make sure that what kind of information he should not access, because we will do only one way kind of a ladder or a tree approach, wherein we will see that what is entitled to, but we will not make sure that what he is not entitled to. If we can create both the hierarchies, then this kind of insider threat can be over. Okay, and also implement the security awareness, and also like employees should be trained periodically about this insider attack uh, activities. And the other thing is the cryptojacking. It is like attempt to install a malware and also get access to some of the ways how the cryptography has been done, because if the keys are been compromised, then our entire crypto system is compromised, right? So like if we know how we generate the keys, then we can find out okay, which kind of function is used to generate the keys. There are many ways to do that, like silently eavesdropping. Like if you are eavesdropping and observing the pattern on which the keys are been generated, then I can generate a function using which these keys are generated, and then I can go on using the or generating the keys on my own and send the cryptographic things. So I should always make sure that this kind of things will not happen. So like anyhow, if we avoid all kind of attacks, then cryptojacking is not possible. And also in the case of this crypto mining, due to the recent uh, like thing in the blockchain and also cryptocurrencies, this has become a very good what is a problem to work on. But still, like it is an expensive process, and also it should have a large portion of the network to get access to all those things. So how do we prevent this? One thing is like we should make sure that they're having we are not having any insider threats, and also we are not victim of any other kind of the attacks. And also like we should deploy some of these browsers which can only access the information and don't do anything like a listener or an eavesdropping kind of a function, right? And also like 0-day like this main thing is we should periodically implement the patches and make sure that nothing will uh, go or taken for granted. Like when there's some vulnerability has been reported by any of the community members, like hackers, or even though they are ethical hackers, if it is something is reported, then we should make sure that we will implement the patches for them, and then we will make sure that no one is a victim of our, right? And also there are something like the watering hole attack, and also like honeypots, and all these kind of attacks are there. Like what is the watering hole attack is like the attackers will try to attack the frequently visited websites of the victim, and then they will infect those websites with the fake name, so that we will always think that by launching a middle in the man attack, then we think that okay, this is a legitimate website, and we will try to link or click on that, then it will infect our system with the malware. So we should make sure that how many times we visit a website, we should always keep a double check whether we are doing it at doing it on a right website or a wrong website. So always update the system regularly, and also try to bookmark the official links of the website. If it has been changed, then try to update yourself so that we can avoid all those things. And also this volume based attacks. So this is what the problem with the DOS. Like in the denial of service, you can see that there are the like huge amount of traffic has been sent to a service provider. Then the service provider thinks why this is coming, right? So this kind of volume based attacks we need to mitigate, seeing that particular IP address, or with the help of the firewalls, we need to make sure that traffic will not reach our services, right? And also this protocol attacks is very much research area, wherein many kind of the attacks are possible in every layer of the TCP/IP or the communication stack. We should make sure that like all the protocols or whatever we use in our machines are up to date, like updating periodically our browser. See, browser is the only point of contact with our machine and the internet, so we should always make sure that our browser is up to date and it is not vulnerable for some kind of the attacks. So that will make sure that we are not prone to many of the attacks, right? And also like firewalls and all, like given they are at the outer stages, but we should always make sure that the insider threats or like victims should be reduced. And also like application layer attacks, as I told, like we should always make sure that we are not prone to all these kind of attacks, like application layer attacks or HTTP attacks, right? Like sending a large number of HTTP requests to exhaust the resources, all those things we should make sure that it is not been possible for the users, because all this HTTP large number of sending protocol attacks or sending like volume based attacks, it will all results in the denial of service for the legitimate users. So we should always analyze the traffic, what is the incoming traffic and what is the outgoing traffic from a website where it is servicing. Then we can take a call whether it is from the legitimate thing or not. So VPN is another place where the organizations nowadays are focusing, so that they can provide a secure connection to another network over the internet. Like VPN tunneling and other concepts are there here, so that the user can communicate with the organization servers securely without the knowledge of the others. And then comes the virtual private servers. So nowadays this virtual private servers are the what do you say, talk of the day. Like we can rent them as and when we require, and also we can rent some of these services. Some of the providers are GoDaddy, Rackspace, and Amazon AWS, and then Microsoft Azure. All these are the some of the examples which are providing the virtual private servers. Even we can make use of them, so that like up to a certain extent we need not bother about the firewall and other services. If we run our services on those virtual private servers, security part will be taken by them, but we can only concentrate on the service part, so that it is a mutual benefit for both, right? And also like there are some softwares which can be we should make sure that that should not be there in our system, that is like a tor which allows the browser to browse the web anonymously, like many of the firewalls or many of this what to say, even if they block them, like device control softwares, by using a tor we were used to browse some of the internet things. So this kind of traffic we need to identify on which port they are communicating, and we should always make sure that that will not happen. And also similarly keylogger things, right? And also like a keylogger is mainly used to get the username and the password, as I told before, but we should always make sure that these things will not be there in our things. And also we can use this simple software to identify, like if anyone is trying to analyze or get access into our network, that we can do. And also rootkit, these are some of the, what to say, practices which you can use to safeguard ourselves, right? And which are the domains in the cyber security? They are very huge. Like what we can think is like asset security, security architecture and engineering, communication and network security, identity and access management, security risk and management, software development testing, security assessment and testing security controls, testing of security control, it should be, there is a typo, sorry for that. And then security operations, this is a huge domain is there in the cyber security. We can explore and then get hands on it. That it's a huge what to say domain nowadays, because we, like in all the domains, security is has been a prominent concern, right? So this is what the planned talk was. So if you have any queries, I will be happy to take. Hope I'm audible, right?
It's audible. Hello.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. If there are no, like it will be like, and also like assessment will have a percentage marks, like if you can score over the above 50%, then only you will be eligible. Yeah, you have cleared the exam.